Hi, it's Robbie Grayson, creator of Trait Marker, and this is the third of a 9-part series I'm giving on dissolving the past. In the last lesson, I answered the question, what is emotional intelligence? And I said that emotional intelligence is the ability to interpret the signs and signals coming at us from nature. In this lesson, I want to answer the question, what is suffering? Self-inflicted suffering. So I've got a simple diagram here. I've got the word program and assimilate. And I'm going to put a circle around both to represent that they both happen within the brain. I'm going to put a horizontal line here to designate that programming happens in the part of the brain that we can control. It's the upper brain, it's cognition, it's the area of volition. Sometimes we think that we have no control over it, but we do. The bottom portion belongs to behavior, which is more subtle, it's subconscious, and you cannot control it according to the same rules that you control the upper part of your brain. Now, these are two different conversations that we have. Because under psychological time, there is never enough time. That's the problem. We don't get maximum efficiency out of a present moment because we're having to share it with the present, with the past, and with the future. So what happens is that we tend to outsource to another intelligent life form like a person or even to technology. We outsource some of our emotional intelligence. So we send it signals of when we want to be alerted, and then we only want to be thinking, we only want to be emotionally involved when the alert comes to us and tells us that we've got to execute this or execute that, things that are vital to our well-being. So the operative word I want you to keep in mind for programming is control, because even though you're outsourcing emotional intelligence, you were the one who were in control of that. Now, when it comes to behavior, it's a little bit different. Behavior, like I told you, is a form of memory, okay? It's just a form of memory that is more subconscious. So when it comes to the area of the behavior, the way for us to actually control or develop our behavior is to increase our emotional intelligence. And the way we increase our emotional intelligence is that we get really, really still. It's almost like we try to strike a baseline where we're really paying attention to nature. We're very aware of what nature is telling us so that we can pick up on the cycles of nature. And when you can pick up on the cycles of nature, then you've got a better bearing of where you are at any moment in your life. Now, in order to do that, there's a posture that we've got to have, and that's the posture of acceptance. You have to keep this in mind. Under psychological time is always resisting what is real. It's resisting kind of the unknown natural time laws that are coming at us. So really, when it comes to the area of behavior, we've got to be accepting. We've got to learn to accept. Now, think about it this way when we talk about the inefficient use of time. Let's say that for one moment, you're only getting about 10% efficiency in doing present things, which, by the way, is the actual act of doing. And let's say that you got about 20% of that same moment, you're preoccupied with consequences or what's going to happen in the future. And then, of course, 70% of that is dedicated to the past, where you're editing, where you're remembering, where you're having conversations. Now, under psychological time will put pressure on us, and it will say, hey, you need to try harder. So you need to increase effort. And so let's just say that we wake up one morning and we go, I have not been getting this thing done, but I'm going to double my efforts. So if we want to get a 100%, theoretical 100% of our present moment, we're going to have to multiply that by 10, which represents 10 times as much, which is going to give us 100%. But here's the problem. If you increase effort like that, okay, if you're increasing time in order to get something done like that, you are also increasing a preoccupation with the future by 10 and also a preoccupation with the past by 10, which is 200% increase. And here it's 700%. And of course, this is a never-ending battle. It's a never-ending battle. So when you increase psychological time, you're also doing something else. You're having to decrease your emotional intelligence. And the difference between the two, the differential, is what we call suffering. It's the degree to which you will suffer. In the next lesson, we're going to talk about addiction, which is an outgrowth of suffering, volitional suffering, intentional suffering. See you then.